And I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Timberwolves. They close out the Golden State Warriors this week, 4-1. They are headed back to the conference finals for the second straight year, which is a pretty remarkable accomplishment, given the changes that they underwent in the offseason, changes that were attributed to by many people, myself included, as being more about money than making the team better. But here they are, right back where they were at this time last season. The question I have, is this a better version of the Minnesota Timberwolves than the one we saw last year?
It's a better version of the Minnesota Timberwolves from the regular season. They were a mess at the end of games in the regular season. If you look at their clutch numbers, last 5 minutes within 5, they were atrocious. Now they're winning these important playoff games in the fourth quarter. So just that alone. I would like at some point to have a replaying of when that trade happened and our conversation on air because you were against and I was for, and I'm just saying.
I stand by that to a degree, but I'll let you finish.
I've made plenty of calls that are the reverse, trust me. I think they're definitely a better team. I mean, that's how experience works, right? That's why we say in the NBA over and over, you got to get there once, and that's kind of your year to figure it out. And then you got to go, to really move forward, you've got to go the second time and all of that stuff. And look, Anthony Edwards is better. He's definitely been more disciplined in this playoffs than we saw last year. His conditioning seems better. He kind of ran out of gas at times at the end of that conference finals against Dallas. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but he just looks overall in better condition. And they've made some alterations to their team. Julius Randle, which was my sort of big thing at the beginning of the year, has been huge for them. Huge. And I just think he is able to do things for them in their structure that Karl Anthony Towns didn't, and also sort of didn't clog things up with Rudy Gobert the way Cat did. And by the way, it was a good trade for New York, too. It'll be interesting if, there's a fantasy already
Knicks Wolves
about Knicks Wolves and getting to litigate the trade in real time. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
As a John Krasinski specialty right there.
Right?
Long form athletic story. I think the jury's still out if they're better.
Really? How come?
Because they've caught some breaks in this playoffs.
Amen.
Right? They beat the Lakers, which, as excited as we were about them going into the playoffs, it's clear they are a deeply flawed team. Then they get Golden State, which loses Steph Curry early in the series. Not their fault that you play the teams that are in front of you, but the team from last year broomed Phoenix in the first round and then won a dogfight with the defending champs. 7-game series. That team was battle-tested. That team was as good, if this makes sense, as a conference finalist should be.
Sure.
I don't know if this team is there yet. They did surge at the end of the regular season, play great so far in the postseason, but I haven't seen them tested up to this point. There are things I love, and the Randle point is well taken. Randle, he has been one of the great regular season to postseason disappointments in his previous runs in New York. You look at some of his numbers from the regular season with the Knicks to the postseason, and they fell off a cliff. This year, they have dramatically improved. 24 points per game in the playoffs, 51% from the floor, 35% from three. Game 4 and 5 against the Warriors, he was outstanding. Dante DiVincenzo has ebbed and flowed a little bit, but he shot 45% from three for the team after the All-Star break, and he had a pretty good Game 5, got into a rhythm in Game 4 and 5 from three for the Timberwolves. So they've got that. But Jaden McDaniels is kind of the same guy, maybe a little bit better. Nas didn't win sixth man, but he had the same kind of numbers. Rudy's Rudy. Mike Conley's Mike Conley. Mike Conley's going to get 20 years in the NBA. Remarkably, he's going to be like a starter for 20 years in this league. I think this conference finals.
But Ant is better.
Ant is better, but he hasn't had a great postseason overall. He's had some moments, but they didn't advance past the Lakers because of Anthony Edwards. He played well in Game 5 for this team, so he's still working his way back in. Look, I just think this is the series we find out if they're better. Against Dallas last year, Cat ran out of gas and was outclassed by a veteran team in that series. Anthony Edwards, as you mentioned, ran out of gas in that series. They're going to get a formidable team, whoever they go up against. Oklahoma City, Denver. I think that's where we find out what they're made of.
Honestly, obviously the rest factor is going to be huge.
Yeah,
if this Denver Thunder series goes to 7, which it certainly looks like there's a very good possibility of that. it may be that especially if it's the Nuggets who just, I mean, how much more can you ask Nikola Jokic to do? He's got to be the most exhausted human on the planet. They might be able to catch Denver in a way because Denver has no depth, because they will have just played grueling series.
Michael Porter Jr. with like an ace wrap, or like he's got like an egg on his shoulder.
I talked to him after he got injured, and he was saying he literally couldn't lift his arm above his head. I mean, that's how he's playing. So it's possible they catch Denver exhausted and depleted, and they advance to the finals, and everyone will say, oh, they're better than last year. I actually think either Denver or the Thunder would just be, if we didn't take rest or injuries into account, I would pick them over the Wolves, even though I think they're better. I just don't think that the Wolves have an MVP on their team. You're talking about two teams that have either of these guys could win this year, and either of these guys could win in any year. And who's the best player in the series is often the determining factor. And they don't have anyone close, right? Anthony Edwards may one day be an MVP, absolutely. But he's not there yet, obviously. So he'll be playing a team. They'll be playing a team with either the best player on the planet, Nikola Jokic, or the presumptive MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
With waves of defenders to throw at
absolutely. So I just, I'm not sure how far they advance is going to be a marker if they're better. I would say to your point about, they haven't really faced much competition. The Boston Celtics didn't face much competition, and yet obviously won a title when they hadn't previously in the previous few years. So last year, clearly that it's not just because you haven't faced competition doesn't mean that you might not be better. But I'm not sure they're going to win the next round regardless. I do have to just ask you, because you mentioned DiVincenzo. Have you seen the AT&T commercial?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
It's so good.
Love it.
How to stay in touch with your college friends.
Love it. Love it. That was a Super Bowl commercial right initially. And
I'm not sure I caught it at the Super Bowl, but obviously
that was one of those phenomenal.
It's obviously been running all playoffs, and I laugh every time. And those guys are so good every time.
They're rooting for a Wolves next.
Oh God, yes.
Like just run that in a loop and pay him to read. I probably can't pay him to redo it now, but like just get him. I mean, that's
just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I look at. I knew what the Wolves were last year because they beat Denver.
Sure.
And Denver was still Denver at that point.
Amen.
Beating the Lakers, beating a banged up Warriors team, we'll see. I think this series will be an interesting test for them.